MetaFacts Legends, History Ranked, Episode 1 Entry Number 9. Feminism, the revolution without a gun. They say revolutions are loud, that they come with banners, bullets, and barricades. But what if one of the most transformative revolutions in human history started not with a war cry, but with a question? A woman once asked, "Why is it that our liberty is limited to the right to obey?" Another dared to write, "I do not wish them, women, to have power over men, but over themselves." And from those whispers, a storm was born. Welcome back to MetaFacts Legends, History Ranked. We're counting down the top 10 ideologies that changed and scarred human history. At number 9 is one of the longest running, most emotionally charged, and quietly disruptive forces humanity has ever known. This is feminism, not a chapter in history, but a thread that runs through every chapter. Let's begin where most historians don't, in silence. In the centuries where half the population had no name, no vote, no property, and no voice. For most of recorded history, women were treated as property, not proprietors. They could be traded in marriage, denied education, excluded from inheritance, and silenced in courts. In ancient Athens, women were legally minors. In ancient Rome, the paterfamilias, the male head of the household, could legally kill his wife or daughter for disobedience. And in medieval Europe, even queens were often pawns in marriage alliances. It's not that women lacked ideas, it's that the world lacked ears to hear them. The first tremors of change came in the 18th century, during the Age of Enlightenment, that grand philosophical movement that claimed liberty, equality, and fraternity for all, but apparently, all still meant men. Mary Wollstonecraft, an English writer and philosopher, read the great thinkers of her time, Rousseau, Voltaire, Locke, and saw a glaring omission. In 1792, she published A Vindication of the Rights of Woman, a radical call for educational equality. She argued that women were not naturally inferior to men, but only appeared so because they lacked access to the same education. Wollstonecraft was ridiculed, dismissed, and after her death, her reputation was nearly destroyed when her lover published a tell-all memoir. Yet her work endured, and it lit the match for what would become known as first-wave feminism. The first wave, roughly from the mid-19th century to the early 20th century, focused primarily on legal rights, the right to own property, the right to divorce, and above all, the right to vote. In 1848, in a small town in New York called Seneca Falls, a group of women led by Elizabeth Cady Stanton and Lucretia Mott convened the first women's rights convention in U.S. history. They produced the Declaration of Sentiments, modeled after the Declaration of Independence, which boldly declared, "All men and women are created equal." The reaction: most newspapers mocked it, even some male allies thought they had gone too far. But the seed had been planted. By 1893, New Zealand became the first country to grant women the right to vote in national elections. Australia followed in 1902, but only for white women. Finland in 1906, and then a wave swept through the world. By 1920, American women won suffrage after decades of struggle. The 19th Amendment to the Constitution was passed, and millions of women voted for the first time. In the UK, women over 30 gained the vote in 1918, with full equal suffrage granted in 1928, but victory at the ballot box was not victory at home. Women were still expected to marry, bear children, and support their husbands. Work outside the home was frowned upon, sexual autonomy was taboo, and female ambition, often punished, rarely praised. Then came the second wave. It began in the 1960s, fueled by civil rights movements, anti-colonial uprisings, and the frustrations of post-war gender roles. This time, the revolution would not just be legal, it would be cultural, sexual, economic, and personal. At its center was a French philosopher named Simone de Beauvoir. In 1949, she published The Second Sex, a massive 2-volume exploration of womanhood. Her thesis: one is not born, but rather becomes, a woman. In other words, gender is not destiny, It is constructed. De Beauvoir's ideas exploded across Europe and into the English-speaking world. Combined with the sexual revolution of the 60s and the rise of the birth control pill in 1960, feminism was now reshaping not only the law, but the bedroom, the workplace, and the self. Betty Friedan's The Feminine Mystique in 1963 captured the discontent of millions of American housewives. The problem that has no name. She called it the quiet despair of educated women stuck in suburban homes, wondering if there was more to life than cleaning and cooking. Women marched, women wrote, women organized. The National Organization for Women, NOW, was founded in 1966 in the United States. Laws banning gender discrimination in education and employment were passed. Title IX in 1972 prohibited sex discrimination in federally funded schools and colleges, opening the door for female athletes and scholars. But with progress came backlash. Critics claimed feminists hated men, undermined families, and threatened traditional values. Popular media caricatured them as angry, unfeminine, and radical. Some feminists, like Andrea Dworkin and Valerie Solanas, became lightning rods for controversy with their fierce critiques of patriarchy and violence. Yet the movement pressed on. By the 1980s, feminism had diversified. What became known as third-wave feminism emerged in the 1990s, emphasizing intersectionality, the idea that gender cannot be separated from race, class, sexuality, and nationality. Kimberlé Crenshaw, a legal scholar, coined the term to highlight how Black women, for example, face unique forms of discrimination not captured by traditional feminist or anti-racist frameworks alone. In Asia, Africa, and Latin America, feminists adapted the ideology to their own contexts, often focusing on access to education, reproductive health, and resistance against domestic violence. In 1994, Rwanda elected the highest percentage of female parliamentarians in the world, a legacy of both tragedy and transformation after genocide. In Saudi Arabia, women only gained the right to drive in 2018. In Afghanistan, girls' schools are still under threat. The global battle continues. Today, we are in what some call the fourth wave, a digital feminism driven by hashtags, viral stories, and online campaigns. #MeToo, #TimesUp, #YesAllWomen. These movements exposed sexual harassment at the highest levels of power, from Hollywood to politics, from corporations to college campuses. Statistics show the ongoing struggle. Worldwide, women earn 77 cents for every dollar earned by men. Only 10% of heads of state are female. 1 in 3 women globally experiences physical or sexual violence in her lifetime. In 2023, only 7% of Fortune 500 CEOs were women. Globally, women perform 3 times more unpaid care work than men. Only 28 countries have full legal gender equality under the law, out of nearly 200. And yet, there are victories worth celebrating. Female literacy rates have climbed dramatically in the past 50 years. Women now outnumber men in university enrollment in over 100 countries. Female life expectancy exceeds that of men in nearly every nation. Maternal mortality has dropped by over 40% since 1990. Feminism is not a finished fight. It is a conversation, a continuum, and often a controversy. Some argue it has gone too far. Others say it has not gone far enough. There are conservative feminists, liberal feminists, radical feminists, eco-feminists, cyber-feminists. Some argue for equality, others for equity. Some want inclusion, others want revolution. But behind the labels is a simple idea: that women are human beings, that they are not inferior, not destined to serve, not born to obey. As Malala Yousafzai once said, "We cannot all succeed when half of us are held back." Today, the fight continues in the courtroom, in the classroom, in the home, and increasingly, in cyberspace. It is fought not just by women, but by men who believe in dignity and justice. It is not a war between sexes, but a demand for fairness across all identities. So why does it rank at number 9? Because while feminism did not dominate empires, drop bombs, or draft constitutions, it reshaped the most intimate structures of civilization, marriage, family, education, and power. It changed not just how we govern, but how we love, how we speak, how we dream. A quiet revolution, perhaps, but a revolution nonetheless. One that continues, one that asks questions no bullet can silence. At MetaFacts Legends, we rank the ideologies that shaped humanity, and also invite you to explore them with us. Which part of feminism should we dive deeper into in a future episode? Mary Wollstonecraft's radical 18th century essays, the rise of feminist movements in the global South, the science behind the wage gap. Let us know in the comments. Your ideas guide our journey, and if you want to explore the original writings of Beauvoir, Wollstonecraft, Friedan, and more, check the description below. We've curated a list of sources and affiliate links for those who want to go deeper. Subscribe to MetaFacts Legends to keep this project alive. Support our mission by sharing, donating, or simply leaving a thoughtful comment. This was number 9, Feminism, the Revolution Without a Gun. 8 more to go, and trust us, they only get more dangerous from here.